Professor Fred Ogola is here with us this morning. He's the chairman of the Operation Linda Jamii. And we're asking questions today that, everybody is like Happy New Year. So when they see you on the 14th of November, they say, how was tree planting? Everybody I see this morning, did you plant a tree? And that's like, it's the Happy New Year, at least for today. And that's what we'll be discussing today as we get into it. Our guest host for today has been Mark Bichachi, and looking into this conversation, we get into it. Professor Ogola, good morning.
Good morning, Drew.
How are you doing?
Very well.
Yeah?
Yes.
Karibu sana.
Asante, I'm very happy you talk about kiwi. I remember all of us, when you're doing shopping, when you're going to school.
Yes.
That was one of the most prized items.
Isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I was in St. Mary's Yala. If your shoes cannot shine, and we used to have a motto, shine in everything, everywhere.
Yeah.
So kiwi was the way to shine it out.
Imagine.
And I would remember that is not something you could negotiate about. You'd rather not pay school fees.
But not go with your kiwi.
You could pay school fees in
But now
kiwi.
imagine you can do both.
Yes.
You can shine and pay school fees with kiwi.
Yes. Yeah.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
City has a proverb from the Democratic Republic of Congo. It is neighbors with the Republic of Congo. The only difference is that this one is democratic.
No, also, the democracy is measured by the lack of a deputy president and a deputy prime minister. That's how you measure democracy.
Yes, please.
Yes.
Really?
We've learned that today.
We've learned that today.
Yes.
Wow. And Kenya, we need more of that now.
No, we need less.
And more governors. We need more according to the constitutional amendments that are afoot.
Yeah.
You know, the democracy that you find in DRC is actually profound. You have all manner of activities taking place, and the thing we seem to know DRC for the most is the conflict.
Unfortunately.
Not just the size of the country, the population,
resources.
the natural resources, the generosity of the people. All that is lost in the conversation of conflict. Anyway, the snake and the crab do not sleep together in the same hole.
Snake, crab, same hole, onge.
The snake and the crab do not sleep together in the same hole.
What do you think about that?
When you say that, I think about my Solomonic economics.
Explain, please.
Please.
Because in the Solomonic economics, we say that wisdom is what casts away ignorance. When wisdom comes in, we cannot have ignorance. When light comes in, you can have darkness. So in a democratic republic, there must be either darkness or light, and one must give way. In fact, even in our faith, we remember that light and darkness will continue competing, and there's a belief in the end, light will win. We also believe that evil and good will continue competing. In the end, good will overcome evil. So for me, I'm just saying that these are opposites. What I do not know is that I don't know how a snake is the opposite of a crab. But I believe that where the crab survives and what the crab eats and what the crab cherishes, the snake doesn't. So I just believe that there's the opposite of all that. In fact, if you look at where crabs, say, for example, in Mombasa, I don't think we swim in the ocean. Can you ever encounter a snake in the ocean?
Well, there are sea snakes, but I mean...
But that's Australia. There's everything in Australia. So.
Okay.
Yeah, one doesn't come across them very often.
You don't see them very often.
So I believe that the crab maybe needs another kind of water or aquatic environment where a crab survives. It's not the same aquatic environment where snakes can actually thrive.
What?
So those are my 2 cents. So in Kenya also we can relate with that. There are so many things that cannot survive together.
Yes, like politicians and wisdom.
Yes. Wow. Actually, there's a quote by...
We need a drum set for it.
Or a fire extinguisher.
Actually, there's a quote that I actually tweeted that I was going around, and I asked, what do you know the difference between a lady and a politician? Do you know the main difference?
I don't know that we want to, but okay, let's go.
Yes, they say that a politician, when a politician says yes, they mean maybe. When they mean maybe, they mean no. And when they say no, they are not politicians. Then the lady, they say that when a lady says no, they mean maybe. When they say maybe, they say absolutely yes. And when they say yes, they are not a lady.
I can tell you
So,
one thing, Professor.
That's very dangerous speech.
Not only is it
I
dangerous,
Yes.
you, my friend, are going to get battered.
properly.
Oh,
No, I'm saying there's a quote.
Okay, it is not.
Yes.
You said
It's not
somebody
me.
said it.
I'm just saying somebody says.
Yes, you're going to get battered for daring, even quoting
To
that
repeat it.
quote. It is one of the most
Yeah.
sexist.
Yes.
No, but I'm
Never
saying
come across.
it's a difference. It's a difference because politicians never say no. Tell me.
Okay, so well, now that we're talking about planting trees, and let's just, no means no, but okay.
Yes.
Yesterday, we planted trees. The
Yes.
country embarked, well, for the most part, at least by speech, on getting into tree planting.
Yeah.
There are many theories that, follow what happened yesterday. But the question is, here we are saying the national coming together, the communion yesterday was around tree planting, and many could have said it spoke for many other things as well, beyond the physical act of tree planting.
Yeah.
Maybe brought the country together in one way or another. What happens next is what we're discussing at this hour.
Yeah. You see, Ndu, yesterday I was making a press statement. After I saw this list of, somebody went and put all the CSS in one photo and shows that how they are going to travel from one part to the other, trying to plant trees and supervising the planting of the trees. And I was baffled. And when told me that we came together to plant trees, I don't think we came together to plant trees, because we have not even followed the system of government. I'm sure, Ndu, I'm known in this country as a governance expert. I've sat in one of the most big boards in the country. I've trained nearly every single board in Kenya, public, private. I've designed the structure of governance when I was working with the late President Mwai Kibaki. And when we came with Vision 2030, Kibaki asked himself, now, how do you align Vision 2030 to work in a country? Because we have a vision, but how does it work? So I was given an assignment. I went and sat down and realized, how do you coordinate government to work? Because that is the main thing. We came with what's called EMDA. That E is executive order from the president, according to how to implement Vision 2030. M is ministerial policy. So the president gives an executive order, for example, plant 1 billion trees, or the 15. We shall discuss about the possibility of doing that, because the math does not math. But I'll give you the number. So if the president says plant 15 billion trees, is an executive order from the president. Minister in charge of forestry, or for that matter, come with a ministerial policy, how to execute that executive order. Then State Department under PSS, which is called now D, comes with the execution framework of the ministerial policy coming from the minister. Then after that, we have an agency, for example, Kenya Forestry Services, which is now A, comes up with how to execute the execution framework coming from the State Department. So when we came to planting trees, it was more or less the president planting trees, ministers are planting trees, supervising planting trees. All ministers became ministers of forestry, you understand? So I was wondering that, is that the way to go, where we just move like that? Do we have any coordination? Do you have any structure? And do we know also that some things have been devolved? When I look at my research today, agriculture, which is a plant, also animal husbandry, are devolved units in government. The money they got, why didn't they devolve this money to counties? Because even we have the governors, we have the county commissioners, we have chiefs, and also we have sub-chiefs. So when we spend 1 billion shillings on air, ministers were ascending and descending, like one ascended from Nairobi, descended in Mombasa. Then ascended from Mombasa, descended in Kisii.
Oh, you're talking about a helicopter now. Okay.
So
it's not some kind of
air.
angelic phenomenon.
Yes. I'm told it does not work. It does not work like that. So we spent 1 billion shillings, staggering 1 billion shillings, in transporting the cabinet to plant trees. In Makueni. Okay. How much could we actually do? Then secondly, I was on the ground. I talked to even a chief today. A chief, I won't tell you where, because this country is Kenya. He told me they were being asked to look for how to facilitate the government to plant trees. Look for those seedlings and plant. So this money, who was given the money? Tell me which nursery in Kenya was given money, and they procured the seedlings to plant trees. Yet the government received the money from wherever they received it. I'm told from IMF. So was this tree planting a Kenyan idea, or was it just somebody who imposed it on Kenya?
We talked to the CS for environment.
Yes.
And I asked this exact question about whether this is a Kenyan idea, this is a Kenyan, and she said yes, 100% Kenya. We know there was a promise, there was a plan to have 15 billion trees planted over the next 10 years, and the idea is 1.5 million trees. It is a Kenyan initiative. There will be supportive partners, but this is a Kenyan idea. So, I mean, there's your answer.
I don't believe him because when I was looking at the numbers, and you see, one thing about economics is that as economists, we believe that in God we trust, the rest only just bring numbers. And numbers is only justification. And I was doing maths here, and it's been going around that maths that is not math. If you just look at the numbers of trees we need to plant, 15 billion trees, isn't it?
Yes.
50 billion trees in Kenya. Kenya is what square kilometers? 582,446,000 square kilometers, isn't it? That means you need to have 25,744,000.6 trees per kilometer, isn't it? Now, you tell per kilometer square, you tell me whether that's possible. Mathematically, it's not possible. Of course, they talk about 10 years. So when I tweeted this, someone told me, but of course we are going to plant and cut. Then what's the point of planting and cutting? So if you're planting and cutting, you'll plant some and cut some, which means at any given time, we cannot have 15 billion trees. So was there any study that was done to inform these 15 billion, or somebody just woke up from their bedroom and 15 billion looks good and just mentioned 15 billion? I can tell you what was the planning. You know, I'm an economic expert. Apart from economics, I'm sure and now I have 5 undergraduate degrees. One is called City Planning and Urban Policy.
Yes, I know.
City Planning and Urban Policy. I did my own planning and discovered it doesn't work. And there are some things to consider. And let me tell you what to do. As an economist, it is not the number of trees we plant, but how many trees actually grow and actually thrive. Secondly, what is it supposed to do? Have we looked at the carbon emission Kenya is having and linked to how many trees we need to plant to offset?
To counter that.
To offset it. There must be KPIs. The KPI cannot just be how many trees you plant, but it can also be the quality of the trees planted.
And this cannot be a resultant effect of just planting these 15
and which
billion
kind of trees?
No, and that's the question.
Yes.
This cannot be the resultant effect of planting these trees because, this is, look, fallacious or not, these are some things that come into the minds of people.
Yes.
And everybody, really. You think about the things that have been happening with the environment, whether we want to look at desertification, whether we want to look at soil erosion and, reduction of forest cover around the world. And the first thing that we have been told from when we were taught is that if you plant trees, you kind of reverse the effects of these things. So is it then premature thinking of a government to come and say where the forest cover is right now at 6.7% for Kenya, and you're trying to get to United Nations has said at the very least, let it be 10%, at the very least. And so you say one of the ways that we know to be able to do this is to plant trees. Can you fault a government for taking that position?
No. Can I ask you a question?
Please ask, CT.
Look at any structured government funding for activities that are known. Let's take education, which we were discussing in the previous hour. They have the hugest budget this country has ever seen. On paper, we know exactly where the money goes.
Yeah.
We know. There's capital. We understand the detail.
We know where it should go.
Yeah. Whether it actually gets there, that's a completely different discussion.
Yeah.
You now want to plant trees and you want to start with X number of trees. The goal is what? 15 billion.
Yes.
All right?
Yes.
First of all, you start the conversation with a budget. Is that not so? And you say, we have this sort of money. Now, where do you want to plant the trees? You're told, we'll plant the trees here. You'll allocate the money into these places. Why do I talk about allocation? When we had COVID, and the government had 5 billion shillings they wanted to ensure when the right places, every county was given a certain amount of money and they were told what they were supposed to do with it. So when we went to measure, we could actually measure and see, did you build this facility? Did you have the beds? Okay? Now, if you look at other countries where they have started such initiatives, the US is one such place where they put aside $1.3 billion US. They have a plan not for planting and maintaining. It's not planting. And maintaining. And it is given to specific agencies within the states, and you're told what to expect. And you're even told the groupings that are given, so you know. So let me backtrack and ask the question. Is that what we saw happening here?
No.
And also, just to piggyback on what you're saying, there's a difference between planting trees and forestation. Because if you plant 5 trees really close together in your 1 acre shamba, it does not constitute a forest, even if your neighbor does the same thing. So reforestation and tree planting are different issues.
True.
And I feel, so that I give Prof, would you feel better if the government gave you a blow by blow? This is what we're thinking. Is it reforestation? Is it tree planting? These are the number of trees. They're indigenous. Are they exotic? This is where we are planting them. We want 10,000 in Baringo and we want 1 million in Siaya, whatever it is. Would it be better if the government gave you a blow by blow and carried you along? Because I think, based on what you say, there are gaps in what the government has communicated.
So, Ndu, I agree with my colleagues here, but not as opposed to the government. What we are telling the president, which is clear, is that we have experts in this country.
Right.
I told you a city planning and urban policy expert. And I just said KPI in tree planting is more trees are good for many benefits they provide, isn't it? Focus should be on increasing benefits, not the number of trees, which is 5 billion. And as well, tree diversity and tree equity and quality. Success can be measured by survival rate of planted trees and the canopy area. So when you talk about the issue of forest cover, we are having the wrong KPI. I am an expert in developing KPI for World Bank, how they do things. But here we're in the country whereby they say they have a plan, and how they are planting, there's no plan. Is there any plan? Will the CSS again continue flying on choppers to check which ones has been watered, which ones are being weeded? And did we even plan and say which kind of a country is having more of that deforestation that needs to be in priority as opposed to this one? But here was like all the counties, everyone is planting. And this was all about the money. According to me, this was all about the money, because national government should not plant trees, according to me. In fact, we cannot just have enough time to go to court, because even if you go to court, there will be no time before trees were planted already. Yeah. But we should go to court and tell the government to do their work and leave the county government do their work. Respect the county government. Why should a CS go to Mombasa, tell Mombasa people to do planting trees? Go to Homa Bay and tell them. Fly to Kisii.
Every CS adopted a county. Yes, they did.
Why are they becoming governors? They should then run for governorship. According to me, we have a country with order. In fact, if you look at what happens between our national government in the US and the state governments, their roles are well demarcated. So according to me, devolution has never happened in this country, because anybody can wake up and do anything on behalf of the devolved system.
We're going into another situation.
So I'm trying to say, because
so now we're going towards
the planting trees is a devolved system, is under devolution, and I can read for you there.
The activity of tree planting should now fall under the devolved system.
And what I can tell the president, in as much as they were in a hurry to plant trees, anything that has a structure becomes a little bit stable. So if they are able to embed this in the county government, it could be easier. Then they could give governors target by saying, for example, the governor of Garissa, it doesn't have the same aim as the one of Marsabit. Does not have the same aim as the one of Siaya. There are some areas which are already, for example, if you go to Kajiado with the Ngong Forest, I don't think that we can ask them more. They have already given us too much. What is happening is conservation of those forests. Some people should focus on conservation, others should focus on planting, others should focus on maintaining. So according to me, it was more sporadic. It shows for me the dysfunctionality of the government. The president has goodwill. No one can oppose planting trees, so don't even say I'm opposing it. What I'm doing is that we are doing the right thing, but not rightly. We are being effective, but being inefficient. So according to me, efficiency should be played. But unfortunately, as a governor, as an expert in economics, they say, quoting one of my biggest, let's say, senior called Douglas North, he says that most governments were never born to be efficient. They are never meant to be efficient, and they'll never be efficient. So if you're waiting for efficient from government, you'll wait forever. And that's why we can actually talk to some, for example, private sector can also play a role here.
Yeah.
PPP, public-private partnership, to increase the issue of efficiency. Again, we have agencies like Kenya Forestry. So you can put these things into people who can do them efficiently than you being a government planting trees.
Okay, quickly before we take a break, could this not have served as a catalyst for this very same thing that you're talking about? For you to say, okay, let's get round this national momentum and then kind of instill it in people that it was important to do and then now say, go. No?
But let me ask you, how do you plant trees where the people who should benefit from the planting trees suffer? I can ask you, young people are out of jobs, isn't it? If you gave the money that the CSS used to fly around to give kazi mtani kwa vijana,
yes,
to plant trees, kazi wa kina mama to plant trees, women groups are already there. They are already existing structures. For me, it is the way you did it. It's not sustainable. You can do something which is, in my language, you say, whoa, 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 in my language, but it has no impact in the end. It's not sustainable. We are looking at and I saw a woman, a mama who is like my grandmother's age. He said, tupande miti tu kila siku. Sio ati tuko na holiday ya kupanda miti.
Yeah.
Kwa sababu ukisema holiday, watu watapumzika.
Yeah.
Hawatapanda miti.
Kweli.
So just calling that thing a holiday. Who should be working on a holiday? So it was supposed to be a tree planting day. I even wonder how they call it a holiday for planting trees. I don't see how holiday and tree planting work. Just call it a tree planting day so that people can work but planting trees.
Okay.
When you call it a holiday, you just spoiled it for me.
Oh, it was sport for you?
No, I mean, you call it a holiday. Some people now are traveling.
Actually went on holiday.
Yes, people went on holiday.
People went on holiday on Friday afternoon and
remember
then came back
something
yesterday
which is
evening.
important. Have you heard something called Casual Friday?
Yes.
I wrote an article, very good article in Economics, by saying the impact of dress down Friday on effective work. Because when you say dress down, even people dress down their head. They don't want to work. They want to relax. Just saying dress down day, you even dress down your energy level. Say, today take it easy. It's Friday. Take it easy. So that take it easy was introduced by Dress Down Friday. So by calling this thing holiday for planting trees, I can tell you, if I was president today and declare a tree planting day and don't call it a holiday tree planting day,
it would be more effective. There's certain things that jump out, and I think we can't run away from those, right? So tree planting, nobody's necessarily coming at that as an issue. Very important. I love the example of the woman who said, you know what, it should be an everyday thing. We do it every day. We understand the importance of it. But if you're looking at something of such a huge scale nationally, there should be a plan, there should be communication, it should be strategic, it should be countrywide. It's not a one-day flash in the pan kind of thing. What does it make you think when you see it done in the way in which it has been, void of the strategy and the planning that you speak of, Prof, that perhaps you're saying we should also be wary of?
For me, what I think is that the president needs to get a team that can advise him properly, because the president has so many people who have misadvised him in the past. We can count and count. You go to the Presidential Working Party on education, I'm sure you know what went wrong. They told him to put a junior secondary school inside a primary school. That was a structural misnomer. Because if you get, primary school teacher is headed by, primary school, the head teacher is a P1 teacher.
Yes.
Now, when you bring a secondary school, junior secondary school inside them, you're bringing a graduate to work under a P1 teacher.
What's wrong with that?
There's an ego issue there. I'm not talking about, you can say, academically there's nothing wrong, but I'm talking about what I know on the ground. I talk to them, they tell me there's an issue. They feel, the head teacher feels they want to be in charge, they want to be in control, and there's something about resource misallocation. So there are so many issues involved with that. So I'm sure even if you think there's nothing wrong with it academically, practically there's something wrong. And they're thinking somebody could advise otherwise. Now, when you come to this of tree planting, now, what are the variety of trees that will be able to be sustainably planted? Or we are just picking tree from any nursery without any policy on tree planting? That talk about the issue, is that supposed to be follow structurally? ministers come with a ministerial policy on how to plant trees. Which are the best variety of trees to plant around to give us the canopy we're looking for? Can you just do reforestation with any tree anywhere? Have we agreed which is the best tree for Kenya? For example, if you go to some countries, go for example to Washington D.C. during when we are just ending the winter, you see that time when the flowers come in D.C. and it's a beautiful place people can come and visit. It's called what?
Spring.
Could we have something like that? Or for us, we are just planting trees for carbon, offsetting carbon, but we can't even find how can we make Kenya attractive for tourists with the trees. We have to think beyond just the normal, the routine of saying let's have trees. Now, as you sit here and do, okay, I'm sure Muga, I don't know which county you come from. Which trees were they planting in Kisumu?
I have no idea.
And which trees would you like to see in Kisumu? So if you have no idea, who has an idea? So my point is, ministerial policy will ensure things are done in a way that talks about our policy. Yesterday I also questioned what's called the fiscal policies, foreign policies. Do we have them that guides how we do everything we do? Ministers are flying all over the place instead of sitting in the office to come with ministerial policies. Tomorrow they're going to say, oh, now let's go for, devolution conference. All ministers are there. Let's have State House meeting in Kisumu. You pass anything, then let's have them in Kakamega. I mean, what
you're making it seem as if government as a whole has no plan or strategy.
I don't think they do. That's why I'm saying we want to help the president. And let me take you back to the State of the Nation address. There's something the president says that we need to take note of and follow him on. He says, let's pull together. Now, according to me, when he says let's pull together, maybe he has noticed that he's alone and maybe he needs help. If I'm right that he needs help, then let's pull together means here. We have private sector. We have the public sector. We have civil society. We have religious leaders. We have professionals. We have youths. We have women. We have adults. We have provincial administration. How can we come together and pull together as a nation to go the right direction? Because we cannot have somebody pushing and someone is pulling. When we pull together, we move there and become more efficient. So can we structure this pull together? Then the president needs to come now after this and tell us, when I say let's pull together, I want parliament to do for me this one, judiciary do for me that one, executive do for me that one, secretary do for me that one, private sector do for me that one. If he clarifies what everyone needs to do to pull together with him, we come and support him. Remember, this is our country. And I'm not saying because I'm cynical. I've seen people who lack leadership. I've seen some leaders in live television, maybe you've seen them saying, Wakenya, you elected Ruto, kuleni kiburi yenu. That is not leadership. You can't tell people to eat their kiburi. As a leader, you have to offer a solution. So as a leader of Linda Jamii, we are offering some solution. For example, peace marathon. We are doing a peace marathon to feel good with the people who are victims of Manamano who have been abandoned by the two principals. Both those people who organized them and those who are not there, to bring even them together to participate with us to heal the nation in peace. So that is the initiative we are doing. You can't tell people eat a kiburi. And then secondly, now we have done more than 1 year since the election. Some people are still reminding us that you elected the wrong government. You cannot remind me my mistake. Even God says that, come to me those who are burdened. These Kenyans are coming to you as leaders telling you we are burdened. We are burdened by taxes. We are burdened by high cost of living. And Jesus says, forgive them. Let them people come together and pull together with the president to ensure people can go to school. But if you are a leader saying, let the president fail so that I can be relevant in 2027, you are a hypocrite, because when you take over a government which has failed, how will you turn around the economy which is in shambles? We want everything to work so that when we take over our generation, we are not taking over a generation which has been killed, because sustainable development is to develop your country now without compromising the future of the future generation.
Prof,
Remember?
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
If you look at the trajectory of the processes that this government has engaged in A, telling us what it is they're doing, and B, trying to convince us that it's meant for economic growth and development and that we're ready for economic takeoff, tell me exactly where we are, at which stage we are at.
That was my question.
That was your question?
Yes. My question was that the president in the State of the Nation made it very clear that we've been living in largesse, and our largesse has now been tamed, and now our economy is about to completely take off. Now, you are an economist of note. Is this possible? How is this possible? What are Kenyans to expect, even beyond tree planting?
Mark, I'm sure you know very well when we wrote this book called Solomonic Economics, says Solomonic Economics is moving Kenya to become world class or developing countries to become world class. But Solomonic economic model has to say that for us to become world class, there are some things which are middle class thinking which can take us anywhere. One, have pipe dreams. A pipe dream is not a vision. So by telling Kenya we are on a good track, where is the president getting his data from? Isn't it? So Solomonic economic says that the first step is objective reality. Where are we? When the president says we have made good progress, this is 14th of November, isn't it?
It is.
14th of November last year, where were we? Ask any woman, child, anybody on the street and let them tell you whether they're feeling better today than last year. According to me, the dollar is hitting 155, isn't it?
Yes.
The fuel has gone up, isn't it? Inflation has gone up. The purchasing power of Kenya shilling has depreciated so low that now is at 87% compared to last year on 13th of November. So by depreciating the Kenya shillings by around 13%, it means that the buying power of the Kenya shillings is going down. Anybody importing anything to do trade, which means most Kenyans are traders, they are brokers, because most of us we import, we are importers, traders, and brokers. So because of that,
brokers are not traders.
Brokers are brokers.
Okay, let's leave that. Let me withdraw the word brokers.
Thank you.
So having said that, the objective reality is that the economy is moving more towards suffering than actually recovering. So where is the president getting his data from? Whether you go to central bank, you go to Kenya Bureau of Statistics, the statistics are showing the opposite of what he said. We have made progress. So what we are looking at, that the president needs to wake up and smell the coffee and tell us where are we in reality. He talks about paying Eurobond ahead of time.
In December, yes.
That is not necessarily a good thing, isn't it? Because I tell you, I think there are some other indicators, because you can pay the euro early ahead of time, but you are taking Kenyans into suffering. Because according to me, an economy says that a state should spend even to the point of having a deficit to ensure the citizens have basic needs. That is the economic dilemma. Because any Kenyan not eating today, going to bed hungry, are fasting your tax. Because when I go to bed without anything, food in my stomach, food could have been taxed. You're not getting taxes. The president needs to learn something which is clear. When you give, you get. When you only take, we cannot have take government. No giving. So when you give money to Kenyans, you receive it. Money from the state in the hands of a Kenyan is state money. For example, I'll give an example. Let me give a simple example. When Kibaki said, let's have free primary education, Kibaki gave stimulus to the economy. Why? Let's say you pay school fees of 100,000 shillings a year in school fees, isn't it?
Yes.
Then I said free primary education. What will you do with 100,000 shillings? Maybe you can buy yourself a home, isn't it?
Do something
or
else.
Maybe you can buy good clothes, you can buy electronics.
Start a business.
Then I tax that money and I get the money back. So when the Kibaki says that free primary education, we did numbers and discovered that in Kenya, every household, which we talk about 21 million households, spend an average of 10,000 shillings per year in education. So multiply 10,000 times 21 million, that is a stimulus in the economy. He gave Kenyan, this is your money, and that money Kenyan spent it, and that's why the economy grew. But when we are just taking from people, giving nothing, you are suffocating them. In fact, that's why companies, when they set up, they pay taxes, they ensure people are earning money, the same people earn money, buy their products, and then the companies grow. A company cannot grow itself in the midst of a vacuum of everyone who is poor.
Prof, let me ask you a question. In the reporting yesterday of the tree planting, it is said that this is part of the government's, the president's agenda to reduce the cost of living, and that is going to be a boon for Kenyans. I didn't quite understand the length and breadth of the logic, but allow me to ask City.
Yes.
City has seen me where I'm coming from. How is that going to benefit Kenyans? Short term, mid term, long term?
Of course, a tree, tell me, that's why I was asking, which tree are we planting? Is it Bloomberg tree? Is it blue gum? Because if you plant a tree that matures in 10 years, actually those trees will mature when he's out of office, unless he's staying forever. Short term is this, my brother. St. Augustine, no, I'm a staunch Catholic, but also a very staunch Christian, but just a religious person, if you like.
Got it.
St. Augustine says that the person dying of hunger is dying now, isn't it?
Yes.
The person who has no clothes is feeling cold today.
Now.
The person without a house is sleeping outside in the cold today. The person sick in hospital without medical care is dying today. A child who has not paid school fees and can't go to school, their future is being wasted today. What is your priority as a president? Planting trees. So I'm asking myself, fiscal policy needs to be done, isn't it? What are the priorities? Trees are okay.
It's good.
But what are the priorities? Let's be clear about that. And if we are given 15 billion shillings to plant trees, isn't it? Let me ask you, if you are going to ask money from anyone, development partners like IMF or World Bank, you ask them for money for planting trees when a Kenyan is dying in hospital, are you a leader?
Okay.
Because leaders eat last, we say, isn't it?
Oh, they should.
So, but leaders are eating before anyone eats. As a head of a household, I'm a father, isn't it? When food comes to the table, I think City Muga, you see this, isn't it? Kwanza wanapakulianga nani, sivyo? In our culture, they tend to pakulia mkubwa kwanza, the father. Kids are going to eat the remains. But that's what we are bringing to governance. But leadership, you should eat when everybody has eaten. But here in Kenya, ukenda kwa a good ceremony, the leaders first of all wash their hands when other people are still watching. We should reverse this culture. Let Wanjiku wash their hands first. That's why in the Solomonic economic model, I've come with a challenge by saying, let us have what we call subsidiarity in the budgeting process. What do I mean by that?
In English, yeah.
First, go and look at the sub-national priorities, people on the ground, isn't it?
Yes.
Then after you sort their sub-national priorities is when you come with national priorities, because we have done economics and discovered that national budget, which are done using national priorities, are actually political priorities.
So we're saying that by and large, Prof,
that
there is a misdirection when it comes to priorities. For one, if you're talking about a citizenship over which you govern, and this citizen is hungry, this citizen is sick, this citizen has no home, this citizen, their children are not able to go to school and receive the basic rights, because we're talking about, these are rights, these are basic things. We're not being luxurious, we are not talking about, something out of the basic things. If those things are not taken care of, you have no business being involved in things that will not make these 5 things happen.
Yeah, of course. And that's why so even the same St. Augustine says that you are allowed to steal, if you are dying of hunger, steal enough to keep you alive. What does he say that? Do you know without money you can't even be a Christian? Because even in churches, before you get your child baptized, you need to pay for a card for the sacrament. It means that we must have a minimum, even to be even a mother, I'm sure, and do you know that? You even need a minimum amount of money to be a father. Even you lose dignity if you have no minimum. And we cannot be talking about a tree which will mature in 10 years when someone is dying of hunger. Then lastly, they said that we need to move as fast as the slowest person. And in economics, we say we need to move as fast as the poorest person. And that's why even World Bank start by, for example, Kenya is a middle income economy. There are some funding Kenya cannot receive, but you can give to Sudan or Somalia more funds than you can give to Kenya.
The gentleman on your right might disagree with you in terms of a middle income.
We are not a middle income.
I have a question.
We have been rated by World Bank like that.
Okay, I have a question.
Ask your question.
The World Bank has got it wrong.
There's been this major issue. Subsidizing consumption and subsidizing production. I spent a stint in working for the Treasury for a while. I never came across such terms. What is the difference? Is there a material difference? Should we today subsidize fuel? Ndu tells me it is Valentine's Day for petrol heads like myself.
Yes.
So what is the difference? Is there a difference? What should the government do? in the question of subsidies.
No, just wait. But gentlemen, before you get there, Prof, you are the economist. What is a subsidy?
A subsidy is to put some is to cushion. It's like a subsidy is an economic tool.
Okay, sir.
A subsidy is to pay something for somebody.
This payment, where does the money come from?
The money comes from the taxpayers' money.
Precisely. Now, fuel has God knows how many so-called costs to it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Landed cost of fuel we know is this much. Then there's this levy and this
That
levy
levy,
for the
yeah.
road and for this, for stabilization, all these things.
There are 9.
It is prepaid for.
Yeah.
So when the government says they're subsidizing fuel, what are they talking about?
Now, by the way, let me tell
When
you.
you already have money for that, it's already in the fuel. We've prepaid for it and we haven't always needed it and it was still there. Where did that amount that was being deducted go to? So that now we are being lumped with
Let me
this
tell you
story.
this: when President Uhuru Kenyatta was the president, I was among the people who are trying to weigh in whether he was supposed to give subsidies or just not to tax. Because if you are telling I'm giving you subsidy of 2 shillings per liter,
Yes.
but I'm taxing it around 70 shillings per liter,
Yes.
why don't I just remove the tax and then you get the fuel? But
Yes.
people tell me we do it for political expediency by saying I have given you 2 shillings. The Wanjiku, who is not very clear about economics, will say the president has given us. You know that it's a political opinion by
How do
saying
you
I
give
have.
us something that we've already given you?
So that's the point.
How are you giving it to
You
us?
see,
But let me go to the issue.
That is my question.
But let me go to the issue.
Because
So
when it comes to subsidies, there is no such thing as subsidizing production versus subsidizing consumption.
That's what I'm to
Because,
explain now.
yes, because at the end of the day, a subsidy is a subsidy. Is a subsidy.
Let me tell you this.
At the core.
Go ahead.
Let me tell you this. There's nothing like separating those two issues, isn't it? Let me just use a simple example. My mother, who comes from Murang'a, plant potatoes, isn't it? And then I tell my mother that for the fertilizers you're using and all these things, I'm going to subsidize I'm going to subsidize those things so that your cost of producing potatoes is cheaper, isn't it? What is my reason? My reason is that now to the end user, it should be cheaper. So by putting money on lowering the production cost, because how did we pricing? We compute the production cost, distribution cost, marketing cost, then after we price the product on the shelf. So if I lower that at the production level, I expect it to be lower also at the shop and the shelf.
At the retail
So
level.
this was a language to be used, isn't it? Just to tell Uhuru Kenyatta that he was wasting money in subsidizing fuel. These guys will do production, but it's the same thing. Because there's a called value chain, isn't it? Value chain moves from production, distribution, retail, and wholesale. So anything you do there is the same. You can subsidize at we talk about in strategy. We talk about the issue of downstream and upstream.
Yeah.
Upstream is the product, is the generation. Downstream is at the distribution and sales. So whatever you do in that value chain is the same. For example, a river Nzoia is moving from this area to there. Whether you fetch the water at the beginning or you fetch at the end,
You still
you are
fetch the
fetching
water.
water. So it does not make any economic sense to distinguish them. What do Wanjiku care? Let's not waste time with this English here. Wanjiku cares that I can afford potato and put it in my stomach.
Yes.
You are going to too many English here. My mother cares that I can afford healthcare for my children. Whether you subsidize education, you subsidize, you pay teachers, what they care is, can my child go to school and afford?
However you're going
and
to
there's
do
a
it.
formula. There's a formula for what's called a buying power of the people. Can you just improve the buying power? So even there are two ways. Should I increase your income or should I subsidize fuel?
Okay.
So there are many formulas here. For me,
what is
these
the
are
health status of the country?
the health status.
Are we healthy? Are we in the ward? Are we in...
No, we
one
are in
word.
trouble.
In
We are in
one
trouble
word.
because of this. We are in trouble because of this. We have debt we are paying, from money which we didn't get. If I tell you now, to vomit bread
I
and
didn't
since
eat.
morning you have never eaten bread.
Where will it
So
come
we
from?
have money which we are paying back to the financial lender,
That we-
which never came to the economy,
Yeah.
and therefore we have illegal debt because according to Treasury we have 6.1 trillion debt.
Yeah.
According to Parliament it is 2.1 trillion. So this 4 trillion is legal debt. Some of them at 50% interest.
Must be paid. Professor Fred Ogola, I mean, obviously, conversations cannot end on this. So thank you for being here this morning. We will continue with these conversations for sure. Mark Bichachi, you've been a sport. Thanks for being guest host today.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.